Well, look, to be honest with you guys, I can't really remember the last free agent class that really made a big difference in Dynasty football. I feel like for quite some time, the free agency class has just been completely weak. Teams are always re-signing their guys. We thought maybe T. Higgins would be a free agent. And, it's kind of like this cycle that never stops where free agency used to be interesting. Teams don't really let their quarterbacks, jump into free agency at this point either. But this offseason in 2026, free agency has a legitimate chance to completely shake the landscape of Dynasty football. It is the first offseason I can remember maybe since like 2019, 2020 in that area where, free agency can legitimately change the landscape of Dynasty football. So on today's video, I know it says 10 free agents set to cause chaos in Dynasty, but we're going to talk about more than 10. In fact, when I look at my list of players, we are really more around like 20 names that could impact Dynasty football. We're going to talk about whether they become buys or sells or how it could impact, other people, in Dynasty football. So I appreciate y'all being here with me. Go ahead and do me a favor. If you want to join today's giveaway where we are going to be giving away a 2025 live team playbook, all you have to do to enter is simply like the stream. And then the code word for today is free agency, all one word. Okay. So again, that's as easy as it possibly can get to enter to win a live team playbook. If you guys don't know, obviously those team playbooks are, our customized team review for you guys over on the Flock Fantasy website. I'll be doing some of these later today after we talk through free agency. And of course, if you want to get your own team playbook, you can become a promo code LAND annual Mother Flock. Remember, you get the playbook, you get the war room, you get the vouchers, the credit on FastDraft, the trade dial, and we have some spots today if you want to join and get your team reviewed. And like we said earlier in the week, we are still doing our 40 in a week Feb initiative where if you become an annual Mother Flocker member, 10% of your donations are going to fight human trafficking with A21. All right, let's go ahead and let's jump into the nitty gritty, shall we? The first, and I would say the most intriguing free agent in the 2026 free agency class. It is a running back. Can you guess who it is? Who do you guys think? Who would you say is the most impactful free agent running back? I want to hear from you in the chat. What's up, Brizzleton in the building? We got Tin Man. Tatum is here. Mike is here. We've got NJ Casanova. We've got Wyatt. By the way, Brizzleton with an incredible entry here. He says, in Greek mythology, the Titans were greater even than the gods. They ruled the universe with another power. What the football field out there, that football out there, that's our universe. Obviously, all-time great quote from a great movie. Okay. I think the number one free agency for Dynasty purposes, number one free agent has got to be Breece Hall. And you all guessed it in the chat. I saw y'all. You were all right. Breece Hall has got to be the most attractive free agent in this Dynasty, offseason. We all know how impactful he can be as a player. He's going to be 25 years old soon, really about to kind of hit his peak in the NFL, if you will. That age, really 25 to 27 is kind of the peak for a lot of these guys. But he is the top, from a market value perspective, expected market value. He is the number one running back in this free agent class. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but do you guys remember last offseason when the new coaching staff came into New York, and there was all this talk about how it was going to be a split backfield. We were going to see a lot of Braylon Allen. We were going to see a lot of Isaiah Davis. And there was this, this belief, if you will, that, Breece Hall might not be as valuable to the team as we once thought he was. He comes out this year. He is clearly the guy. It's an underwhelming year. He averaged under 13 points per game. The first time in his career he actually averaged under 13 points per game. He had about 65% of the snaps, 15 carries, which was actually a career high, oddly enough. But he's a part of an offense that was, one of the worst offenses in the entire NFL. I mean, you go and you look at the New York Jets and you look at what teams are like bottom of the league when it comes to total yards per play and, total yards per game. The Jets right now, if you look at 2025 stats, 4.4 offensive yards per play. If you look at yards in total, the Jets had the fourth fewest offensive yards in the entire NFL. If you look at first downs, the Jets had the 4th fewest first downs in the entire NFL last year. And, obviously that's just kind of what happened in New York. You had a team that was originally led by Justin Fields. Clearly he was a bridge quarterback. Wasn't going to be the future of this team. But it was just not an offense that could move the ball. I mean, it didn't help as well that you had your number one weapon, Garrett Wilson, go down with an injury for the majority of the season. You were starting Brady Cook at times. So Breece Hall, I think we all expect a lot more from him after he signs this big contract. And ultimately, he's going to get a bag from somewhere. That's my opinion. The conversation I want to have today is, does this make him a buy? Does this make him a sell? And what teams do we think are realistic fits? So I'm going to go through 3 fits that I think make sense. And then I'm going to give you a sleeper fit. All right, so 4 in total. But I want you guys to tell me, all right, chat, tell me, who do you think Breece Hall should sign with in the offseason? What is the, expectation for you? Where would you love to see him go? What is your dream fit? Now, obviously, I don't know where you guys stand, but for me, if I could put him in any offense at all, then I'm putting him straight into that Dallas Cowboys offense, okay? If we can put him in Dallas, I think that would be an absolute dream fit. We saw how good Javonte Williams was for this team, obviously, last year. Obviously, he is a free agent himself, but I think Dallas would just be incredible. I mean, that offense is constantly moving the ball down the field. You instantly go from a team that's bottom 5 in all of these offensive numbers per game to a team that's top 5 in all of these offensive numbers per game with the Dallas Cowboys. I think that would be an incredible fit. You can't stop him in the air. If you add a name like Breece Hall, you can't stop him on the ground. I'd love to see him there. I think one of the issues is when you look at, salary cap for this offseason, the Cowboys don't exactly have a lot of space. In fact, right now, this number, salary cap at times can be a fake number. But they, from a financial perspective, probably need to go diving into the value dumpster box, because right now they have negative $31 million in cap space. Now, a lot of these teams are going to cut players. They're going to make moves to kind of like free up space. So I wouldn't take these numbers too seriously right now. But from a team fit, I like it for Dallas. From a realistic perspective, I don't know how possible it truly is. So if Dallas really isn't a possibility, I think the next dream fit, and I'm seeing some of you guys in the chat say this, like I saw Mike say that Kansas City would be a dream spot. Darth Bear says Kansas City, the Chiefs would be an awesome spot. A lot of y'all saying the Chiefs. Tang saying we don't use the running back enough. But I think obviously, like, we would all love to see him in Kansas City, assuming that Patrick Mahomes isn't out for the majority of the 2026 season. Their rushing attack took major steps back last year. All right, Isaiah Pacheco, clearly not even close to the same player he once was. Kareem Hunt was good in short yardage situations, but he had absolutely no juice whatsoever. Rashard Smith was the one with the most, exciting, young, fresh legs, but he really didn't make that much of an impact on the team. They signed Dameon Pierce. We know that they're constantly looking to, kind of add to that running back room. The Chiefs notoriously, I can't really think of the last time this Chiefs team has gone hard after a running back in free agency. I don't think that's really happened. I mean, they went hard on Clyde in the first round of a draft, but I don't know that it's really in the wheelhouse. I mean, I know we all like the Chiefs again, but you look at this list, the Chiefs currently at negative $57 million of cap space. And again, that number's a little bit fake, but nobody is in bigger cap hell right now than the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm constantly seeing everyone out there, like literally every channel out there is saying, you know what, Breece Hall is going to the Chiefs. It's almost a foregone conclusion. No, Breece is going to be a Chief. He's going to be a Chief. I'm like, I don't know, guys. I'm not really sure that this is a spot that's going to make a lot of sense financially for the Chiefs. They really need to, again, like, get into that dumpster dive of value. They need to do what the Cowboys pulled off last year by finding some Javonte Williams in free agency. Now, just before I logged on the stream, I saw a rumor that was announced that the Cardinals are actually going to be going pretty hard after Breece Hall. It's just a rumor, but I will say this. If you're a Trey Benson guy like myself, it's been a damn shame to see him never stay healthy. I am concerned that this team is probably looking for a more solidified option moving forward. I don't really know if Trey Benson is a buy or a sell, but I would not be shocked if they add to that running back room. I wouldn't be surprised if they sign James Conner again and then bring in another running back. I mean, let's not forget, guys, that last year there was a good portion of the year where they're rotating between Bam Knight, Michael Carter, Amari DiMarcado, and those guys were getting injured pretty much every single week. But the Cardinals and Breece Hall could be a really interesting fit as well. As far as the Cardinals go, they have cap space. They got $34 million. I'm not 100% sure that, this team is going to be aggressive like these rumors state, but it would make sense for him. And obviously, if he gets signed to a team like the Cardinals, you don't worry about Trey Benson. You would just assume he is that dude for this team. Now, obviously, the reason I'm talking about these free agent running backs is because I've been very aggressive in our content to suggest to you guys to go out and buy this free agent class. I think there are maybe 5 or more running backs who can become starters from free agency this year. And Breece Hall is one of the more obvious names. Now, my favorite sleeper for them, and I want to hear from you guys, okay, about Breece Hall, where you think he should go. But my favorite sleeper for Breece Hall, how about, and I just kind of walk with me for a second, how about the Tennessee Titans? I don't think Tony Pollard is really that guy. I don't think he's the guy of the future, okay? I don't think we've seen anything. I know that there has been a big Tajay Spears, stand group out there, but I don't think he's shown enough. He's not been healthy enough either. Technically, if we want to get technical with it, the Titans have an out in Tony Pollard's contract. Okay, so they could technically cut him this offseason. I'm not saying they will, but it is a possibility. And when you look at, asking the question, well, do they have a need? Yes, obviously. The Titans have a huge need. They cannot get sustained drives going. Cam Ward showed some flashes. Clearly, they have a need at receiver as well. But if you can get Cam Ward, this dynamic threat that can not only help you on the ground, but also in the air, why the hell wouldn't you do it? Especially when you consider nobody has more cap available than the Tennessee Titans right now. Almost $100 million in free cap space. So, I'm not saying it's the most likely scenario, but I will say that the Titans are a little bit of a sleeper for one of these big running backs. And I don't know, can you picture it? Can you picture Breece Hall in a Titans uniform? I can picture it a little bit myself. But I want to hear from you guys. What is your favorite fit for Breece Hall? Let me know in the chat. I want to hear what y'all are thinking. Like I said earlier, if you want to enter today's giveaway, we are giving away a live team playbook, which is a customized review of your Dynasty football team. All you have to do to enter is simply like the stream and then type in the code word for today, which is free agency, all one word, no spaces. Let's hear from you guys. Where do you think Breece Hall would work? Rashad says the Commanders can actually afford him. I would love to see him with my team. As a Commanders fan, I'm right there with you. I think he'd be a great fit. Carl says, what about Houston? Houston's an interesting fit. We'll talk about Houston. I have a couple fits for Houston. My concern with Houston is they are not in a great place cap-wise. They don't really have money. So I know that's been a name that a lot of people have thrown out there as well, the Houston Texans. Maybe they'll clear up some space. I'm not as sold that they're a realistic possibility. Yeah, 10, what's up, 10 says, Hall signing with the Broncos would be badass, but I don't see it happening. Okay, I can see that. Dallas would be solid from Mike there. And Just makes a great point. I think the most likely scenario for Breece Hall is that he's probably going to be franchise tagged. This is the unfortunate part of free agency. We can talk about how exciting some of these deals can be, and then what can ultimately happen is a team just tags a guy because they don't want to sign him long-term, but they want to get his services for right now. You saw that with Josh Jacobs for a couple years, so I would not be shocked if the Jets end up being the landing spot. And I'd hate it, but again, I would not be shocked, and it's a good call out there from Just a Unit. Okay, let's jump into our next name. Let's talk about Mr. Ken Walker. Obviously, Ken Walker is a free agent. Like Breece Hall, the most likely outcome is that the Seahawks are probably going to bring him back, especially with what he's done in the playoffs. I will say, I was really excited to picture where Ken Walker would end up in free agency until Zach Charbonnet goes down with an ACL tear at the very end of the year. I almost feel like the Seahawks, who are in a Super Bowl window, I don't think they can actually afford to let Ken Walker walk. You know, could they replace him in this draft? I don't know. I don't think this draft is that great for running backs. I mean, there's some names we like. There's some names there's a name we know that's a starter. There's some names that we think could be a starter. I don't think you replace a Ken Walker in this draft outside of, getting Jeremiah Love and upgrading. You're not replacing Ken Walker. So I think if you wanted Ken Walker to move out of Seattle, which I'm right there with you, I think it's going to be harder for that to happen now than it was before Zach Charbonnet had that, tear to his ACL. But just like Breece Hall, another guy who, underperformed for fantasy purposes, but we all know why, right? The snap percentage was an all-time low. Carries per game were an all-time low. Total team carry percentage all-time low. If you look at his numbers on the goal line, they were all at a low point. However, if the Seahawks bring him back, which again, I think is the most likely outcome here. Seahawks don't really have a lot of cap to work with, if I'm not mistaken. Where are the Seahawks at? Oh, wow, they do actually. They're top 5 in cap, so I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion they're going to bring him back, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But if the Seahawks bring him back, what you have to hope, walk with me here, is you have to hope that it's a James Cook type of deal where once the team actually signs the player to a contract, they say, well, we might as well get the most out of this player and let him just completely go, like free reign on this player after we grab him. We'll talk about Etienne in a second, but I don't know if you guys remember James Cook. One of the big concerns we had for him, people had for him last year, was just the total usage, right? But he had a career high in snap percentage at 61%. He had 19 carries per game. Previous career high was 13.9. His carry share was almost at 60%. Again, after the Bills gave him that contract, they said, you know what, James, let's go ahead and let you do your thing. I'll just quickly say 3 teams that I would love to see Ken Walker land on. Number 1, the Commanders. I think he'd be a great fit for the Commanders. Now that's assuming that all the receivers are healthy. He can help you through the air. He can help you on the ground. Jaden Daniels definitely needs some help. They need a solid run game. They certainly didn't have that after moving on from Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson was never going to be the guy, but I think that would be awesome. Like we said earlier, the Cowboys would be a great fit for him. The Bears as well. I've heard the Bears kind of in a lot of rumors lately looking to add a running back. I know everybody who owns Kyle Monangai is hating that idea, but with how important the run game is to Ben Johnson, I would not at all be shocked if we ended up seeing a Ken Walker be an attractive name, to a Ben Johnson, to his offense. I could definitely see that being a possibility. Obviously, for all of our Common On Guy people out there, they're not going to want to hear that. Now, the last spot that I thought could be really interesting, and this is if this team moves on from their current room. And what do you guys think about this? I think the Denver Broncos, if the Broncos look at their offense and they say, you know what, we like RJ Harvey, but he's been wildly inefficient. And I mean, that's just true. I love RJ Harvey myself. I have a lot of stock of RJ Harvey. But if you look at RJ Harvey's season last year, between him and J.K. Dobbins, I mean, the efficiency numbers it's a stark difference. And it definitely makes you ask the question, is RJ Harvey someone that can carry this offense on his own? Last year, J.K. Dobbins, as a starter, averaged almost 5.2 yards per carry. R.J. Harvey was at 3.6. 3.6. I'm not 100% sure that this team is convinced R.J. Harvey is someone that they can run their entire offense through. I mean, it was great to see him get the volume. He was an absolute monster through the air as a receiving weapon. But I'm not sure they're going to say, let's go ahead and let him run things on his own. I think we're going to potentially see the Broncos want to add another name to that running back room. So I could see that being a real possibility for him. Again, the most likely scenario is Ken Walker is franchise tagged or he's brought back on a deal with the Seahawks. So those first 2 names, Breece Hall, Ken Walker. Again, the most likely scenario is they're back with their original teams. Personally, I am buying them. I would love to know what you guys think. What are you doing? Are you buying or selling those first two names between Breece Hall and Ken Walker? Are they more a buy for you or are they more a sell for you? I think they're both great buys right now. I have no problem sending the 106 onwards for these two names. And ultimately, you have to ask the question, like, do I think they're going to get a bag in free agency? And if the answer is yes, then ultimately their value is going to go up and they're probably going to be fed opportunities. And it's hard to find guys that are fed opportunities at the running back position at this point, right? I mean, those guys are really hard to find. They're that needle in the haystack. All right, let's jump to the next name here, which you guys already saw there, Travis Etienne. I got to eat some humble pie on Travis Etienne because if you guys were watching the channel last offseason, I was a pretty big advocate of selling Travis Etienne. I did not believe in him long term. I did not believe that he was going to be Liam Cohen's guy. And obviously, I mean, he was more than what Liam Cohen could ask for. I think he fit the offense like an absolute glove. 4.3 yards per carry is nothing, that you're going to necessarily write home about. It's not a life-changing number. But I felt like he was a great fit, right? Great fit both on the ground and in the air. Obviously, I liked Bashul Tutin coming out of Virginia Tech, but when you compare them side by side, again, it's a little bit unfair because different roles, but I would expect the guy who's not handling a vast majority of the touches to be more effective and more efficient than the starter, right? If Travis Etienne, you're telling me, he's getting about 18 touches per game, which is what he had last year. Meanwhile, Bashul Tutin's right there around 6 or 7. I didn't manufacture that, all right? It happened. 6-7 happened. I didn't manufacture it. But the fact that Tutin's only averaging 3.7 yards per carry, I mean, it's certainly, again, not another name that you're walking into this offseason with a ton of confidence in, right? You still have the question marks around Bashul Tutin. Reports are that they're going to let him go, though. Now, when you look at the available cap for the Jags are, where are they at here? Do they even have the money? I'm trying to remember. Jacksonville is, how am I missing them? Someone help me. I'm blind. 24th. They don't really have much cap right now. They obviously invested heavily in their defense. More recently, heavily in Trevor Lawrence. So I think the reason why they might want to move on from Etienne is because they might not be able to actually afford him. So obviously the Jags will make sense as a fit. However, I do think that this is where maybe the Cardinals come into play. Again, if you don't trust Trey Benson, I think the Cardinals could make a ton of sense for Travis Etienne. They've done this before with James Conner, where, a guy who's kind of gone through the younger parts of their career. And James Conner was a free agent after his days in Pittsburgh. He wasn't the youngest guy, a little bit undervalued, but they said, you know what? There's still meat on the bone there. I still think we can get something out of Mr. Travis Etienne. I think the Cardinals could make sense, but this is where I think the Bears also could come into play. Because if Etienne is a cheaper option, quote unquote, than the Breece Hall and the Ken Walkers, and they are looking to add to the running back room, maybe Etienne makes more sense. And taking it one step further, if the Chiefs are going to get one of those top 3 names, I think the more realistic name here is, again, Travis Etienne. I don't think they're going to be big players for a Breece Hall or a Ken Walker. I just think it's going to cost a little bit too much. But Etienne's an interesting name. Of the names we've talked about so far, he's probably the most likely to move on from his team, based off of everything that we've heard so far, throughout the offseason. All right, another name we need to talk about here. And let's hear from you guys. C-Ron says, Breece Hall can be franchise tagged. Remember that? Yes, sir. We definitely mentioned that. Tin Man says, I'm holding on to Etienne. Not selling or buying, though. So it's more of a hold, wait and see. If you have stock of him, kind of wait and see what might happen. Big Noah's in the chat. He says, Breece on the Titans would be awesome in the Daboll offense. Scottaboo looked great with Dart. I think both Ward and Breece are direct upgrades there. That's a very astute point, and I'd agree with you there. I would actually agree with you. Bako Bub says, any code throbs. No code throbs today. The code is free agency if you want to enter the giveaway. Again, all you have to do is like the stream and type free agency. I feel like we need to use code throb for something special. I don't want to just throw out code throb willy-nilly. I want to have something to throb for. You know what I mean? Pause. Okay. After Travis Etienne, one of the more obvious names here, Javonte Williams. Funnily enough, we've got an awesome upgrade on the Flock site where you can kind of see some cool tools that are being deployed here. But if you look at Javonte Williams at the age of 25, and we compare the closest seasons at the age of 25 going into their 26th age season, the names that come to mind for our comparison tool or our predictor tool, Ingram, Marshawn Lynch, Lamar Miller, I believe that is, Rashad Penny, Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, Kyron Williams. So obviously there's some highs and some lows there, right? The Marshawn Lynch, the Ingrams, those are great names, but the fall off also exists, like Chuba Hubbard last year. Miles Sanders, you guys remember when Miles Sanders got a 3-year deal from Carolina after leaving Philadelphia? But Javonte looked absolutely fantastic last year. An absolute career year across the board. Points per game, finished top 12, a snap share almost at 70%, touches per game. He looked incredible doing it. Not only did he have the volume, but he averaged a career high 4.8 yards per attempt. I mean, if you guys were watching the channel a long time ago, you knew I was obsessed with Javonte Williams coming out of North Carolina. I mean, this ability after contact was rare. I mean, it wasn't like Ashton Genty level of, limits to lemonade, but he was ridiculous. We didn't even have the limits to lemonade report at that time. He and Michael Carter were talked about a lot. Now, obviously, if you own Javonte Williams in Dynasty, fill in the blank. If I own Javonte Williams, I want him to play for in 2026. Fill in the blank. If you're a Javonte Williams owner, where do you want him to sign in free agency? I think we all know. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you were to ask for Javonte Williams to be on any single team, then you're absolutely asking him to come back to Dallas and stay put. Yep, we're all on the same page there. You guys are right. Wyatt, I'm right there with you. Mike, I'm right there with you. Bako, I'm right there with you. Papa Dunk, we're on the same page. If you had a dream landing spot and I said, you know what, close your eyes, Javonte Williams owners. All right, close your eyes. Okay. I'm going to tell you a secret. In 2 weeks from now, you're going to get a notification that Javonte Williams signed a 3-year, $30 million deal to stay in Dallas. You would be like, oh my God, I've got an incredible dynasty asset now. I've got a guy that might be drafted top 6 in a startup. I mean, he's going to absolutely skyrocket in rankings. Right now, if we look at where I have him in my rankings, I don't have him ranked as if he's going to have a long-term contract in Dallas. Where do we have him ranked at the moment? Javonte Williams, we have ranked at RB19. Same thing with Chase Brown. I don't have these guys ranked yet as if they have long-term contracts. If Javonte signs a 3-year deal in Dallas, I might put him ahead of CMC. I might put him RB14. I might just put him in that top 15. That's how valuable this contract could be for a Javonte Williams. I mean, you're pretty much guaranteeing a top 15 finish for the next 2 years, at least, if he doesn't fall off. So I would love to see him there. Now, a sleeper for Javonte Williams, a sleeper pick. And I'm just thinking, it's a new coaching staff. If the new coaching staff isn't really interested in what the previous coaching staff left behind, can you walk with me for a second? A team that historically running back has meant a lot to, okay? This is a proud franchise. This is a proud community, and they like to run the damn football. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers? This is a sleeper, I think, for Javonte Williams. In this scenario, obviously Kenneth Gainwell doesn't come back. I know they just signed Jalen Warren, but in this scenario, they're aware how weak their quarterback room is if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back. It's a brand new group. Let's say the new group isn't obsessed with Caleb Johnson, and you're going to have a dual-headed running back room of Jalen Warren and Javonte Williams. And I've said this many times. I don't think we can go back and we can look at what the Seahawks did with Ken Walker this year and assume that NFL teams are not going to want to replicate it. I know all of Twitter when, you know, when Ken Walker is dominating the playoffs. All of Twitter is like, see, the Seahawks were wrong. Seahawks were wrong. They should have gave Ken Walker more work. I'm sorry, but for the first time, Ken Walker is healthy. As healthy as he's ever been. He contributed all year. The Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. I don't think NFL teams are going to look at what the Seahawks did and say, man, we can't do that. No, I think NFL teams are going to want to replicate that. They're going to want to replicate what, we saw in Seattle, which is why I think Pittsburgh is an annoying fit, but I think it's a fit that we shouldn't sleep on. Okay. Let's hear from you guys. Andrew says touchdown machine if he stays in Dallas. I agree. I mean, that would be, I think we can all agree, like dream landing spot for him. Papa Dunk says, any chance Dallas drafts another running back and people freak out again? I don't think so. I don't think there's a running back in this class that they're going to be in range of that's going to drastically, impact what they're able to do. Now, don't forget they have pick 12, they have pick 20, and then it jumps to the 4th round for them. So they don't have a 2nd or a 3rd round pick. Maybe the Cowboys trade back in the 1st round. I don't know. But I would be really surprised personally if we see an event where, they end up drafting a running back in the 1st round or, early 2nd because they traded back. They're not really in range, if you will. So maybe they spend a 4th or a 5th rounder on him, but it's certainly not going to be a 1st round pick with all of the holes the Cowboys have on defense. I would genuinely be shocked. Genuinely, I'd be shocked if they end up going running back in this class. Well, let's talk about J.K. Dobbins. And I liked it as well, Bacon. We're going to bring Sammy back, I think, next week. J.K. is one of the more underrated names right now in Dynasty. In fact, if you're a contender, most years you can spend a 2nd or a late 2nd or a couple 3rds and go buy this really unattractive veteran running back. This offseason, it's been way harder to do that if you've got contending rosters. I think J.K. Dobbins is like the perfect target if you're out there. You don't have a 1st round pick to play around with, but you've got a 2nd and you're a contending roster. I think J.K. might be the perfect fit for you. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but he had a great year with the Denver Broncos, averaged 5 yards per carry. Was a 5.2 yards per carry, around that. Looked great doing it. Almost 12 points per game. And, he looked great. Career highs in rushing yards per game at 77. He looked awesome. I think about it all the time. We love J.K. Dobbins coming out of Ohio State. Could you imagine what J.K. Dobbins' career could have looked like if he never got injured? Because we are watching a version of J.K. Dobbins with 2 ACL tears. And he's averaging 5 yards per carry, handling 15 carries a game for the Denver Broncos. What could this guy's career have looked like if he never went down with an injury? He was such a good prospect out of Ohio State. But because he went down with those injuries, there's not a lot of wear and tear on him. There's not a lot of wear and tear to the legs. So I don't think a team is going to be hesitant to give him like a 2-year deal. He's not going to get a 4-year contract, but he's going to play an important part of an offense. Obviously, the most natural fit is for him to go back to Denver. However, can I throw a sleeper into the ring? Where would you love to see J.K. Dobbins? All right, let me know. I want to hear from you guys. But can I throw just a sleeper idea out there? If J.K. Dobbins is not going to return to the Denver Broncos, I'd like to throw out the Seahawks. If the Seahawks end up moving on from Ken Walker, why the hell wouldn't we let J.K. Dobbins take over this backfield? Maybe to start the year, it's a little J.K. Dobbins, George Halani combination, and then eventually you get Zach Charbonnet back and you can decide if you want to sign him on a deal with J.K. Dobbins. If they move on from Ken Walker, I think J.K. would be a really fun addition there. Obviously, they have a vast history of injured running backs contributing for their team. I remember, obviously, Rashad Penny back in the day. You can even think back, so many running backs that have dealt with injuries. But I think it'd be an interesting fit. And I would just love to clarify here with Lejon, what Lejon's saying in the chat, who says, I'd like to see him in a committee. To be clear, I think he's going to be in a committee no matter what. I don't think you're going to see J.K. Dobbins completely unleashed as some, aerial threat in an offense. He's going to be part of a committee, but I think he's a really good buy right now. Keep trade cut is certainly not perfect. I was going to go look at keep trade cuts, value of him. Sometimes that's pointless. What I'd rather do is I'd rather look at our trade database here on the Flock site. Let's put Dobbins in here. And I just want to see some recent trades for J.K. Dobbins. Let's find some recent trades for him. Let's see. Let's move my face here for a second. Okay. Some recent trades for J.K. Dobbins. Someone sent a third in 2027 and the 302. I mean, that's a type of, again, if you're a contender, that's the type of cheap deal I'm trying to get to have Dobbins as like a depth piece. Someone got Dobbins and a third for Monongai. I'm kind of indifferent about that. Again, another example, the 302 and the 406. Whatever combination of shitty picks in 2026 that you can send as a contender to go out and get a J.K. Dobbins, to me, it's a no-brainer. Again, another example, the 301, the 305, a 403, a 304, the 302 alone. There are a lot of people out here who are getting J.K. Dobbins either as a throw-in or for virtually nothing, pretty much. So I'd encourage you to go out there and kind of see what it could look like to buy a J.K. Dobbins, who, I mean, back-to-back years, over 10 games played, back-to-back years, over 4.5 yards per carry, looking explosive, looking dynamic, and an important part of an NFL offense. Bacon says, what about Washington or New Orleans? I could see Washington, yeah. These teams that are wanting to maybe go a little bit of the cheaper route, Washington, Kansas City, I could see that. Maddie says, what about like Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay could make sense. I could see that happening as well. Legion says, JK and Porzingis had similar careers. Super talented, but always an injury. I mean, the NBA trade deadline is insane right now, by the way. I am, as a Thunder fan, I'm shocked that we got Jared McCain. I'm shocked that Porzingis is in Golden State, that the Jazz went all in, that the Clippers decided to rebuild without their own picks. I love that as a Thunder fan. But those are the main running backs I wanted to talk about. We will jump into wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends. I've also got some honorable mention running backs just to throw your way. Rico Dowdle. Let's start off with Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle might be the ultimate bargain, bin option for an NFL team this offseason. He's a strong hold, in my opinion. An even stronger hold that I don't think people are valuing enough. And again, I would totally send a mid-third, any 26th third for any of the names I'm talking to you guys about right now, these honorable mentions. I would send a third for most of them. So we talked about Rico Dowdle. How about this name, Rachaad White? Rachaad White is a free agent. He has openly, verbally declared that he is not coming back to Tampa Bay. And he's tweeted out about going to Washington when linking up with his old buddy from Arizona State, Jaden Daniels. I think Rachaad White is a little bit of a name that we're not talking about enough. I'd also throw out Kenneth Gainwell. I think Gainwell is well known at this point. A lot of people are really, I think, aware of his situation. The thing is, a lot of his usage came through the air. He had this special connection with Aaron Rodgers because they had no weapons. I might lean towards Gainwell being a sell. If you can get a late second for Gainwell, I might actually be willing to sell him because I don't really see a scenario where Gainwell... I just think he was in the perfect situation. He's a great pass-catching running back. He's a great third down guy. Maybe there's a team out there that wants to utilize him the way that the Steelers did, but I think maybe you might want to maximize on that. Pacheco is also a free agent. I don't think he's going to be a starter for an NFL team moving forward. But hey, if you can throw a late third for Pacheco, is it worth, buying the lottery ticket and just seeing what ultimately that ticket is worth? It's probably worth nothing. It's probably one of the scratchers, right? I mean, my mom does this tradition every year where during Christmas, she buys us all scratchies, right? And every year it starts off so fun and it ends so sad because we never win anything. Like every year I'm scratching these scratchies and it's worth nothing. That's probably what Pacheco is. Pacheco is probably a nothing burger. But again, I think it's worth exploring. Those are the running backs that I had in mind. Again, I love to hear you guys' feedback. I love to hear where you guys sit with the free agency class. There are some wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks that we need to talk about. Just doing some, admin stuff here, though. If you haven't signed up for our giveaway today, we are giving away a live team playbook All you have to do to enter is simply like the stream, and our code word for today is free agency, all one word. Make sure there's no spaces. You'll be automatically entered. I also want to let you guys know that we are going to be doing some team playbooks on tonight's stream. I've already got 2 in the queue. If you want to get into the queue, it's a great time to. I've got plenty of spots for tonight, but a customized review of your Dynasty football team. There's a couple ways that you can go about getting one. First way is by becoming a promo code LAND annual Mother Flocker member. That will give you a voucher that you can use through the Flock store. Personally, I think it is the best way to get a team playbook, to get me to look at your team kind of like, in a customized fashion. You get the playbook, you get the war room, you get the vouchers on FastDraft, you get the trade question vouchers, the hotline, the tools on the Flock site, the Discord, the trade dial. And of course, this month in particular, every membership that you sign up with, 10% of your donations is going towards A21 Foundation, which helps fight human trafficking. Okay. Let's jump into the next position here. And someone did mention a name that I actually had on the sheet, and I don't know why, but I didn't talk about him. I don't know why I didn't bring this name up. I definitely planned to talk about him. Tyler Algier. Let's just do a quick Tyler Algier take here. Tyler Algier, we all remember his rookie year, right? Where he had a couple, a little stretch there to in the end of his season where he was the starter. You guys remember this in 2022? This was right before they drafted Bijan Robinson, and all of Dynasty football thought maybe Tyler Algier is about to step into a workload here in his year 2, and obviously it didn't happen. Tyler Algier is a name that I would say is a stronghold. I could easily see him being a 1B in any NFL backfield. I think the most likely scenario for Algier is that he probably returns to Atlanta. But if you can use him right now to, get a trade done as a package, I definitely think it's worth exploring. Okay, let's jump into the wide receivers. There are quite a few receivers that could make an impact in Dynasty football. George Pickens, most obvious name, and I think that's probably where we will start with Mr. George Pickens. I've been pretty steadfast on my opinion with George Pickens this offseason. I'd love to hear from you guys, but I don't see a scenario, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too confident, because Sammy yesterday on the stream said he thought the Cowboys would move on from Pickens. I don't think they will. I think George Pickens was made in a lab to play for the Dallas Cowboys. This is a Jerry Jones wide receiver. You think Jerry Jones cares that sometimes he has an attitude about something, or he throws a fit, or he's a little bit of a diva? I think if anybody doesn't care about that, it's probably Jerry Jones. In fact, Jerry Jones probably loves it. If anything gets attention for the brand, then we're not going to be upset about that. He was a perfect fit. It was a nightmare for NFL defenses to face off against the Cowboys this year, because there were just so many things they had to think about. I think he stays in Dallas. However, if he does move on, someone's already said it in the chat. I want to hear where you guys think he should land. Where do you think George Pickens should go in free agency if he leaves the Cowboys? Personally, I think there's one team that makes a lot of sense, and there's one team that's like a fantasy land dream spot, right? The team that makes the most sense to me, because they have the most cap, is the Tennessee Titans. If you want to come out here and say, you know what, let's go ahead and let's give Cam Ward someone that he can actually throw the ball to with confidence. DK was fun. Ridley's not that guy. You want to say, let's give Cam Ward someone. Why not the Tennessee Titans? They got the cap. So if he becomes available, he could get an absolute haul from the Tennessee Titans. Now, I think the dream Fantasyland unrealistic fit would be the Buffalo Bills. If you give Josh Allen a weapon like George Pickens, I mean, he goes from targeting Khalil Shakir 120 times to targeting George Pickens 140 times. I think that would be an absolute dream. You don't even have to worry about Keon Coleman. Whatever he does is a plus at that point. But unfortunately, again, I don't see the Bills really having the ability to go out there and sign a name like George Pickens with negative $9 million currently in free agency, their salary cap. Now, they can cut players. They'll make space, obviously. But I don't see the Bills being a realistic fit. I don't think they have the finances for that. Now, Pickens is really interesting, guys, because The other teams that I think could make a lot of sense, the Raiders, right? Think about it from this perspective. Clint Kubiak is coming in, okay? He's about to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's looking at his offense and he's saying, clearly we need help on the offensive line. But we have our running back. We have our tight end. The team just traded away their wide receiver one last year. We have almost $90 million, okay? Why not? If Clint Kubiak wants to kind of form this union, he wants to get off the ground running, why not the Raiders? Why not help out Fernando Mendoza, give him everything he can to succeed as a rookie? Now, my personal favorite landing spot, and I don't think this is going to surprise anyone because you guys can all see the hat that I'm currently wearing. But personally, my favorite landing spot for him, if I could put him anywhere, and I'm just thinking long-term fit with a quarterback that I like, with a team that has a clear need at receiver, Washington. I love him in Washington. I think it would be absolutely incredible. Now, Washington has a cap space. All right. They've got the 6th most cap in the league. And by the way, they haven't cut Marshawn Lattimore yet. They've got De'Aaron Payne, who they can cut. They can get well over $100 million freed up. So those are some dream spots. Again, I think the most likely scenario for me is that he's a Dallas Cowboy. And if I'm honest with you guys, if you own Pickens right now, I mean, we all want him to stay in Dallas, right? If you're a George Pickens owner, just like Javonte Williams, the dream scenario for you is that you wake up one day and you get a notification that says George Pickens signs a 4-year deal to stay in Dallas. There's not a better fit. You're not going to go somewhere with like a better chemistry, a better quarterback situation, more upside. Sure, if he goes to Tennessee, then there's no CeeDee Lamb to compete with, but it's not the same thing, all right? But ultimately, George Pickens right now, where is George Pickens ranked on the flock side? I'm curious. Right now, I personally have George Pickens ranked at wide receiver 14. Wide receiver 14. And I'll be honest, like, if he stayed in Dallas in a long-term deal, I'd have a hard time not putting him around that top 10 range. Right here with the Olave, McMillan's, Wilsons. But if he goes to a place like Tennessee, I don't know. He might be right here around the Flowers, Adunze's. It'd be tough. It'd be tough to be all in, and I'm a big George Pickens guy. Let's hear from you guys, though. I want to hear where you guys sit on George Pickens. Papa Dunk says Pickens to the Commanders, then Debo to Buffalo. Then Buffalo can go get another receiver for support. I like the first part, Papa Dunk. I will say the last thing Buffalo needs is another receiver that cannot stretch the field and win one-on-ones. But I like the first part there. Bacon doesn't like the fit, in Washington. Jordan does like it. Wyatt says, I don't want him, but the Broncos could make sense. Okay. Lejon says, I don't know their cap situation, but Patriots is a good fit. May loves the deep ball. That is true. May does love the deep ball. Jordan says, just traded 2/3 for Pickens last year, the day before Dallas move happened. Oh my gosh, what an absolute steal. But yeah, George Pickens is the, like, I would argue that of any free agent, he has the most to gain or lose for Dynasty. I'm thinking like Breece Hall, Ken Walker, wherever Breece Hall and Ken Walker go, they're going to get a bag and they're going to be a focal point of an offense. But for George Pickens, if he signs in Dallas versus signing somewhere else, I think there's a lot to either gain or lose in free agency. And I don't know, does that make him a buy? Does that make him a sell? If we had a crystal ball, we'd certainly know the answer. Okay, next name I want to talk about here, Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce, I really liked him coming out of Cincinnati, and he's really developed. And I'm not saying I know this for sure, but we've heard that they have considered moving on from Michael Pittman. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. Here's what we know. We know that this offense is going to have Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, Josh Downs. We know that for sure. We assume Daniel Jones is back. We assume Alec Pierce is going to be a free agent, and they're not going to bring him back. but maybe they decide to go with Pierce over Pittman. I'm not sure. The Colts are currently 10th in cap. I don't know that with how scarce the wide receiver market is this offseason, I don't know that they can match what someone else is going to offer Alec Pierce. So I would lean towards Alec Pierce kind of finding a new home. And to me, I think the Bills make the most sense here. I don't think the Bills go for a flash like a George Pickens. But if the Bills are going to upgrade through free agency, this is what you don't have on your roster right now, right? I mean, there's a couple slot receivers we'll talk about in a second, but these guys that can't play outside, I don't know that it makes sense to sign one of those guys in free agency. But if you can get an Alec Pierce, this is exactly what the Bills haven't had. They haven't had a outside receiver that can stretch the field, that is dominant in one-on-one situations. They hoped Keon Coleman would be that. Clearly he wasn't. So I think that's the best fit if the Bills actually go after a receiver. But I don't think it's easy to rationalize with the amount of cap that they currently do not have. Outside of the Buffalo Bills, I think the Jets would make a lot of sense as well. If the Jets don't want to, add another receiver in the draft, they could look towards a Alec Pierce to stretch the field along with Garrett Wilson. Obviously, they have Adonai Mitchell. In this example, I'm assuming that they don't believe Adonai Mitchell is a long-term answer for them. Certainly, the Jets have enough cap, $82 million. You can throw in the Raiders and the Titans as potential fits because they have the money to make it happen and they have a need at the position. I don't see, Pittsburgh doing this. I don't see New England doing this. I don't see San Francisco bringing Alec Pierce in. I think he's a team a player that would fit, a very specific group of teams. All right, let's talk about Juwan Jennings quickly. I think Juwan Jennings is probably just going to come right on back to San Francisco. I don't know where y'all stand, but I reckon he's due to come right on back to San Francisco. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's really important to that offense. However, if he were to leave in free agency, I think the Giants could make sense. Juwan Jennings could basically be like an upgraded version of Darius Slayton. And then he becomes your 2-3 with Wan'Dale Juwan, depending on if they bring back Wan'Dale Robinson. The Raiders could make a lot of sense as well. If you don't want to go after a big-time free agent, but you want to replace Jacoby Myers in a sense. And then a sleeper would be the Cowboys. If the Cowboys decide to move on from Pickens and they can sign Juwan Jennings on a cheaper deal, maybe that could make a lot of sense as well. We also have Wan'Dale Robinson to talk about here. Wan'Dale Robinson, I have 4 teams that I think fit Wan'Dale perfectly. Do you guys think Wan'Dale's coming back to New York? I'm not sure. Obviously, he was important to their offense this year. 13 points per game. He had almost 9 targets per game. I'm not 100% sure they bring him back. Look, they certainly could. They don't exactly have a lot of cap to play around with. Maybe they want to maximize this window. But I think Wan'Dale is actually a player that fits 4 teams perfectly. Let me tell you who those 4 teams are. Number 1, the Raiders. Raiders have the cap to do this. They have a big body in Brock Bowers. Obviously, they have an Ashton Genty. They have a Trey Tucker to stretch the field vertically. I think Wan'Dale would be a great addition to the slot for them. Number 2, I know this isn't going to be fun to hear, but the Steelers. I think he perfectly complements a DK Metcalf. Again, a big body outside. You don't really have a number 2 that you can reliably throw the ball to. Honestly, outside of DK, who are you really targeting on purpose here? I think Wan'Dale would be a great fit for them. Number 3, and I don't think I've heard anyone talk about this fit yet. What do y'all think about this? How about the Atlanta Falcons? Kind of replacing Darnell Mooney long-term, right? You got Drake London outside. Who knows if you're bringing back Kyle Pitts or not? Obviously, Bijan's going to get his targets. But the amount that Wan'Dale could operate in the intermediate game, in that 5 to 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, he could be an absolute perfect fit for the Atlanta Falcons. And of course, the last team I wanted to throw out here, the Tennessee Titans. Again, they have the cap. I think they're the least likely just because DK looked pretty good last year. And I think if you were to sign a Wan'Dale, you're kind of effectively, you're not giving up on DK, but, you know, you're not really letting his career determine itself, if that makes sense. After Wan'Dale, we've got some quarterbacks that we're going to talk about here. You know, just quickly on the other free agents, you know, we've got like Mike Evans, who's a free agent. And he obviously will make an impact in the free agency class, but he's not someone that's going to sign, you know, a 3-year deal. Mike Evans is going to sign a 1-year deal, I think, wherever he goes. He's going to sign a 1-year deal. I don't exactly know where it's going to be, but Mike Evans is a free agent. He could make some noise. Keenan Allen. I've thought about Keenan Allen to Washington a lot lately. If they move on from Debo, Keenan could be the perfect, you know, intermediate guy with Terry. Romeo Doubs is a big name. I don't really know what the market is on Romeo Doubs. I don't know. What do we think? What do we think NFL teams think about Romeo Doubs? I really don't know. I mean, he's a fine number 2, number 3. I'm really curious to see what sort of contract he demands. I just don't think this is the receiver that you put a bag out for, you know? Killer says, feels like he could be Raiders number 1 with Bowers as the main target. Yeah, you know, I've thought about Doubs, and I've thought about where could Romeo Doubs go. I don't know. I really don't know, guys. I don't know a team that, like, yeah, you go the teams that have a bunch of cap. I don't know. I think almost like Denver maybe. I don't know. I don't have a good read on Romeo Doubs. And I don't really know. Yeah, I mean, there's potential for him to increase his value, I guess. Okay, let's jump into quarterbacks. And let's talk about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I just want to be quick on this one. I would be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked. I have these awesome sticky notes from my designer. I didn't even use them the entire time. What a dumbass. Good job, Zach. I had all these cool sticky notes I was going to use today. Ugh, what an idiot. I think Daniel Jones is going to stay in Indianapolis. I don't see a scenario where he leaves. He's the perfect fit in Indianapolis. They certainly need him. And ultimately, like, where else is he going to go? The one team that I thought could make sense, and I don't know that they have the money to make it happen, but the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons was the other team. You know, if this new coaching staff has not sold on Michael Penix, then you could rationalize why the Falcons would bring him in. Again, if the Colts let him out of the building. The other name that I think could make sense is the Vikings. Unfortunately, the Vikings are in cap hell. They almost need a rookie quarterback to make sense for them. But I thought the Vikings, you know, I'm sure they really regret letting him go now after what they've seen from J.J. McCarthy. But Falcons can make sense. Vikings can make sense. Ultimately, I don't really see a scenario where the Colts let him walk. That's kind of where I'm standing on him. Obviously, the big name that we all want to talk about is Malik Willis. Why? Because every time he has an opportunity to start in the last 2 years, it's looked great. Remember his 25-point performance there in week 3 of 2024. And of course, last year, starting for Jordan Love, had that 31.5-point game. Who was that against? I'm trying to remember. Baltimore, where he scored 2 rushing touchdowns, 60 yards on the ground, 100 rushing yards in 2 games as a starter. So obviously Malik Willis, we all expect to be, you know, this bridge quarterback, you know, that kind of like Justin Fields, last year's version of Justin Fields. Is that fair to say? You know what I mean? Is that fair to say? So I think for Malik Willis, he's clearly not coming back to Green Bay. I think everybody knows that. I think everybody's on the same page there. But if he's not going to go to Green Bay, what are the teams that make sense? Well, a team that obviously makes sense that would be hell is the Jets. Right? I think we'd all hate that. But if they want a bridge, they've got a bunch of picks in the upcoming drafts. It would make sense logically why that could make it work. Second team I wanted to talk about here. How about the Cardinals? Now, people are saying that Kyler Murray's contract is not movable. I think I disagree. Kyler Murray's contract is not that expensive for a quarterback. What was it, like a 5 years, 230? So, I mean, you look at the rest of his contract. You know what? It's backloaded. It is backloaded contract. I thought it was front-loaded, but it is a backloaded contract. Why would the Cardinals do that to themselves? I thought they front-loaded this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is a bad contract. $52, $43, $46 million cap hit. Although you can cut him after the age of 30 and there's no cap hit. I swear this was a front-loaded contract. Okay. Well, I think the Cardinals could make sense if they found a way to move on from Kyler. Now that I'm seeing that contract, it's probably not possible. Another team that would make sense, how about the Pittsburgh Steelers? If it truly was the last hurrah for Aaron Rodgers, then they could use a bridge quarterback, and I think Malik would be a great fit for them today, Junior. Last team I want to mention here, Miami Dolphins. They've made it very clear from ownership to all the way down to the new staff that Tua is not. You're not building around Tua tags anymore. I think they've made that very evident. Which makes me ask the question, what happens to Tua this offseason? You know what I mean? Like if they do move on from Tua, where does he go? Is he a very low-key, sneaky buy low? I don't know. But Malik Willis is one of these names right now where if you have a mid-second, maybe you're sending it for him in a super flex league. And you're kind of hoping him to be like your quarterback 3 in a contenders window. Any other quarterbacks I'm missing here? Those are the guys that I think matter. I mean, sure, we can talk about, some of the veterans that could be a bridge. I'm thinking Joe Flacco. I don't think there's anyone else that I would imagine is going to matter too much. The Jimmy G's, the Kenny's, I don't really see them mattering. Maybe Marcus Mariota. Killer says Marcus. Yeah, maybe Marcus. Mac Jones is not a free agent. And I don't know why, but the Dynasty community has assumed Mac Jones is a free agent for a while now. He's not a free agent. He signed a 2-year deal for San Francisco. So they would have to trade him. And I don't see them trading him unless they get a value that they simply just can't deny. So I think he's going to stay in San Francisco. Okay, let's jump to some tight ends. I mean, how cool are those sticky notes? If only I used them the entire time. Kyle Pitts. At one point, this was me like 5 years ago. I remember, and I'm ashamed about it, but I remember saying things like, you can't sell Kyle Pitts unless you get 3 first-round picks. He's an incredible prospect. Top 10 NFL draft pick. Look at what he did as a rookie. He had 1,000 receiving yards as a rookie. One of the best rookie campaigns ever. And since then, we've seen the Laportas of the world, the Brock Bowerses of the world, the Harold Fannins. Young tight ends are playing well every single year now. And slowly but surely, this year, we're starting to see what we all thought maybe he could become, right? He has a career high in points per game. He finishes a tight end 4 on a points per game basis. 88% of the snaps, career high. Target share, career high. Receptions per game, a career high. Had 0.3 touchdowns per game, which is a career high. Looked good doing it. A 22% target share. A career high in routes run. So now I think he's someone that we could legitimately see a great career from. But is that career in Atlanta? I don't know. I'll tell you what. We've talked about the Tennessee Titans a lot today. I think because how affordable the tight end room is overall, if you were to compare it to, let's say, signing a free agent wide receiver or a big name quarterback or something, tight ends are a lot more affordable. And with all the cap that Tennessee has, if they want to spend it in some unique ways and just give Cam Ward another body to throw to, I think Tennessee could make a lot of sense. I really do. I think, we've talked about Brees is a fun sleeper for them. George Pickens as a, a dream fit. But I think Kyle Pitts could make a ton of sense. Chika Conko is a free agent. Gunnar Helm was fine. But as he's starting to kind of get into his prime, giving Cam Ward that option over the middle of the field could make a lot of sense. Now, outside of the Tennessee Titans, obviously, he could just re-sign in Atlanta. But walk with me for a second. Now, I know technically it looks unfeasible because they only have $26 million. I talked to Sammy about this on yesterday's stream. But why the hell not the Broncos, man? Why not the Broncos? They tried the Evan Ingram experiment. It didn't work. Was Evan Ingram cooked? Maybe. But why not Kyle Pitts to the Denver Broncos? Sutton's getting up there in age. You got some young receivers like Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant right now. Could he be the next Joker for Sean Payton as he kind of enters his career? I mean, remember what Sean Payton did with Jimmy Graham. Remember what he's done with all these tight ends in the past. One more landing spot, because they just have a lot of money to spend. If they can't go out and get a big free agent receiver, I wonder if the Commanders make sense for Kyle Pitts as well. Obviously, they had the Zach Ertz thing going on there for a while. Unfortunately, Zach Ertz, with his injury, probably not going to play much more football beyond this. But I think the Commanders can make a lot of sense as well. The thing is, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Playing buy, sell, hold with a name like Kyle Pitts, I can't really think of a scenario where his value is going to drastically change. Can you guys? I mean, where would he have to go? What would the contract have to look like for his value to just skyrocket or to plummet? I don't think there is a scenario like that. I don't know. I don't think that scenario really exists. So I almost feel like we just got to be patient with him. He's really just a hold at this point. Sure, if he goes to Kansas City, Mike says Kansas City. Sure. I could see that happening. If he re-signs with the Falcons, Killer says, with Kirk still starting and Stefanski, I see him popping off. Okay. I see him as more like a neutral, mover. One name that's going under the radar is David Njoku. David Njoku is not even 30 years old. Obviously, he was outplayed by Harold Fannin this year. He's a free agent. But if the Falcons lose Kyle Pitts, I could see them going for an Njoku. If the Falcons lose Kyle Pitts, Njoku could be a decent, I guess, Band-Aid for the position. How about if the Eagles lose Dallas Goedert? David Njoku could be a good fit for them as well. So Njoku is one of those names I think if you can throw like a 4th round pick for right now, not even 30 years old, has shown us in previous years plenty of upside. I mean, even just go back to last year, right? Even last year, you had week 7, 24 points, 17 in week 8, 19 in week 11, 26 in week 13, 14 in week 14, 17 points. I mean, he's gotten more than enough upside in previous years. Another name, which I was surprised when I realized he's a free agent. Isaiah Likely is a free agent. Is that surprising to anybody else? When I was researching for the stream, I thought, wait, is he finally a free agent now? And I could see a team definitely wanting to invest in him. Obviously, we've all seen like the potential of an Isaiah Likely in the past. He's never had an opportunity to really like be the guy, but the athleticism is clearly there. He's not even 26 years old. So Isaiah Likely could be a real sneaky, again, if you got to throw a late 3rd for him. Check this out. What if he goes to the Chargers in free agency? I know we love it, Oronde Gadsden, but what if, Mike McDaniel says, you know what? I want to play around with Isaiah Likely. What if he's the cheap pickup for the Commanders? The Zach Ertz replacement. What if he is the cheap replacement for the Titans? You know, for Chigakonkwo. I think he could be a name that we need to really, you know, keep in mind. Mike says likely we'll get re-signed with Andrews getting up there in age. I was with you, Mike, but they re-signed Mark Andrews in the middle of the season. So I guess I won't be surprised if they go ahead and they double down at tight end. You know, wouldn't surprise me necessarily. But yeah, they've already re-signed Mark Andrews, so I could see them maybe moving on from Isaiah. Papa Dunk says, Browns fans here, unfortunately. I think Njoku is following Stefanski to Atlanta. Stefanski runs a great 12-man, and Njoku-Pitts combo could make sense. Okay, I can see it. I'm walking with you. You're speaking the vision, and I'm listening. I could see that. I could legitimately see that happening. In fact, I don't hate that at all. I don't hate that one bit. As Tetro McMillan just won the Offensive Rookie of the Year, by the way. Okay, one more tight end that is a free agent. One more tight end that's a free agent. Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is 31 years of age. Had a really good year for the Eagles. I could see them re-signing him on like a really affordable deal. If not, there were 3 teams that I thought would make sense for him. First is the Dolphins. Dolphins don't really have an answer there. Secondly is the Bengals, just because I feel like the Bengals are always signing like these guys at the end of their careers. And thirdly was the Jets. Because again, the Jets have money to spend. They did just, you know, draft Mason Taylor. If they were to bring on Dallas Goedert, it would be because they didn't see enough of Mason Taylor as a rookie for it to make sense. One sneaky name that I will say, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts if you think I missed anybody. Is there anybody that I missed that we should have had a conversation about? Let me know. But one sneaky name that I think is worth just mentioning, because there was a lot of rumors last offseason, is Michael Mayer. He's not a free agent, but what would you guys say is like the percentage chance that he's traded? I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Percentage chance that we see Michael Mayer traded. And by the way, I would love to jump into an Origins draft after this if anybody wants to jump into one with me. There's currently 3 spots remaining in the latest Origins draft. That's where we can draft the 2026 rookie class together. I'm currently in, like I said, the Origins. Right now, we've got 3 spots currently remaining. Would love for you guys to come jump in a draft with me. I'll show it on the screen if you guys want to have some fun, talk rookies after this. 2 spots remaining right now, actually. 2 spots remaining in this Origins draft. If you've never played on FastDraft before, by the way, you can download the FastDraft app, sign up with the promo code LAND. I'm actually deposit up to $50. And then you're going to get my rookie report completely free. So again, if you guys have never played on FastDraft before, it's very simple. All right, download the FastDraft app, use the promo code LAND. I'll match that deposit up to $50. You get some free drafts. You can check that out in the pinned comment below. Currently 2 spots remaining as of right now. Is there any free agent that I missed? Any free agent that I missed? I want to hear from y'all. Okay, let's hear from the chat here. Let me see. I'm going to get rid of some of this. Let's get rid of the chat here. Let's have a look at the chat. Zach says it's a fire take for the Commanders. Get this guy in the front office. I would love to see Chig or Isaiah Likely with the Commanders. I think it'd be a perfect fit. Killer says that Chig is underrated. The Titans just suck. Okay. Bacon thinks it's a 50-50 chance on whether Michael Mayer gets traded or not. 50-50. Okay. I like those odds. 50-50 is not bad. 50-50 is not bad. Papa Dunk says, weren't the Raiders looking to trade Michael Mayer last offseason? Yes. There was a lot of conversation around it. Obviously, completely different coaching staff, though. So I'm trying to, like, rationalize in my head, I guess, you know, like, is this new coaching staff going to have the same opinion? Or are they going to want to get rid of him? Or are they going to want to use him in a different way? Mike is in the rookie draft. I'd love to see that. Currently 2 spots remaining in that Origins draft. Dub says 30% on if Michael Mayer is going to get traded. I think that's what he's referring to. 30% Raiders could use to fill holes, but he hasn't shown enough to get a load back. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't really see a scenario in which Michael Mayer... 1 spot remaining, by the way, in this Origins rookie draft now. Just 1 spot left. Let me let people know. Yeah, I don't see him ever like becoming some, you know, top 12 dynasty tight end. But I don't know. Yeah, it's tough to envision him becoming like truly like an impactful tight end. It's so sad because he had such a good prospect profile. But he might just be one of those guys that ends up dying. Thoughts on Ben Sinnott, Papa Dunk says. Oh, man. Oh, jeez. I get sad when I think about Ben Sinnott, honestly. I am just so disappointed. I mean, to be fair, he really never had a shot to do much. It took Zach Ertz being... you know, his leg basically blowing off for them to even like consider playing him. But I think he's probably a nothing burger, if I'm going to be honest with you. All right, let's jump into an Origins rookie draft. This is awesome. They just recently created like this new draft TV is what they're calling it. Origins rookie draft. This is the only place on the planet right now. That's not an exaggeration. The only place on the planet where you can draft 2026 rookies for money. Okay. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. I am at the 8 spot and it's a 20-second clock. I actually hate the 8 spot because I don't even like a lot of the rookies outside the top, outside of the top 6 here, top 5. But the way that the Origins tournament works, by the way, is you can draft however many positions as you want. There's no limitations to what positions you're drafting. So you can go, I can draft 6 receivers here. I can draft 6 running backs. I can draft 6 quarterbacks. It's however you want. It's a cumulative scoring as well. So it's weeks 1 to 17. Last year, I had a lot of Cam Scatteraboo in these drafts. I had a lot of Judkins in these drafts. And I was killing it, but then obviously when they went down with injury, it was hard to replace that production, unfortunately. Okay, we see Mendoza at the 101. Then we get Love, Lemon, Tate Tyson. No surprise there. Emmett Johnson. I've got back-to-back picks here, and I'm going to start it off with Jonah Coleman, who I'm not obsessed with by any means. But ultimately, I'm just kind of betting on these running backs. I could go Sadiq, but I'm not convinced he's going to be a big producer in year 1. I have a lot of question marks on his profile. So we'll take running backs back to back here. Emmett Johnson went the 107, then I went Coleman and Price. I've been a pretty big guy on saying I don't see a running back going in round 2. I don't know where you guys stand on that, but I don't see a running back going in round 2 this year. I think you'll get Love in round 1, and then I think there'll be some round 3 and round 4 running backs. But right now, the best bets to go in round 2 are Coleman and Price. So Concepcion was there. He's kind of like currently fringe first round talent. Sadiq, a lot of people are saying Sadiq goes in the first round. And I think Sammy yesterday was talking about it, but if he does, it's probably going to be because of how he tested the combine. I'll be honest with you, I don't know why Nick Singleton's coming off the board there. I'm sorry to Team 5, which is stained. Team 5 is stained, but I don't think we should have seen Nick Singleton go off the board. If you guys don't know, Nick Singleton broke his foot. So in case I'm breaking news for someone, I want to save you guys from yourself a little bit. All right, I'm on the clock here. I've already got stock of Antonio Williams. That would be my highest ranked player here. Let's just grab Antonio Williams off the board. I thought maybe Jeremy Bernard. I'm not a big Jeremy Bernard guy. I don't have any stock of him yet on the Origins tourney. So I'd like to change that, but yeah. I do like Eli Stowers. Omar Cooper at the 207 here. So if this was like a 12-team rookie mock draft, then let's think about what the first round would have looked like. So the 109 would have been Price, the 110 Concepcion, the 111 Sadiq, and the 112 would have been Singleton. Which means in the second round, you would have gotten Surratt, Simpson, Omar Cooper. That's not bad. I think you'll probably end up seeing Surratt and Cooper go higher in drafts. Bacon said Heidenrich. I don't know who Heidenrich is, guys. I still don't know who that is. I know you're trying to sell me on this. I don't know who Heidenrich is. I don't know who that is. Guys, I genuinely, I'm not just joking. I don't know who that is. As Stowers comes off the board at the 306. I tried to look up Tyron Montgomery the other day. I can't find him anywhere. I swear, I will literally show you guys my scouting report. My scouting database. I was looking this kid up because everyone, y'all are throwing out the most random names. Tyron Montgomery plays for John Carroll. I was trying to find out any information on this guy. You guys are always talking about it. I'm like, I literally don't know who this is. So he plays for the John Carroll Blue Streaks. Like, I don't know what that means. All right, I'm on the clock. I don't have any stock of Max Clare yet. I might go in that direction. We'll grab Max Clare to start. Skylar Bell, my guy, is there. We got Le'Veon Moss, which we could bet on. I do like Eric McAllister. Dion Burks I like. You got to be quick, though. It's only a 20-second clock. That's why they call it fast draft. Okay. I'm going to draft Le'Veon Moss here. Okay. Nice little squad we got going on here. I'm just betting on the running backs. Like, what if we get a Bucky Irving here, right? What if Le'Veon's our next Bucky Irving, right? That's really what I'm trying to bank on here. Bacon says he's a dual threat receiver and running back. I genuinely have never heard of this person in my life. Some of the names you guys are throwing out lately, I don't know if it's a state of how bad the class is or what, but some of the names you guys have been throwing out lately, I'm like, what are we even talking about? As someone just took Dante Moore, I feel pretty confident in telling you that whoever's on Team 5 is having the worst draft I've ever seen. No disrespect. If you're in the chat watching right now and you're Team 5, I'm so sorry. But this has got to be one of the worst drafts I've ever seen. Not only did they draft Nicholas Singleton, okay, who, I don't know, when does he play? They drafted Chris Bell, who has a torn ACL, Hollywood Smothers, who went back to college, and Dante Moore, who went back to college. So they're having one absolute killer draft. All right, I need to set my queue right now. It's going so fast. Roman Hemby comes off the board. Eric McAllister, who I was definitely looking at. Who do I not have stock of yet? Let's put a couple names. Let's put a couple names on the board here. Ooh, I know who I want. I know who I want. I just updated, guys, and it's not on the draft guide yet. I want to get it up on the draft, on the rookie report yet. I want to get it on the rookie report here in the next couple weeks. But I just updated our Limits to Lemonade report. And let me tell you something. There's a name that is just ridiculous this year. Who do y'all think I'm about to draft here? If anybody can nail it, I'd be surprised. We're going to draft Virginia Tech's Terrion Stewart. Have y'all heard of Terrion Stewart? Because this guy, like, limits to lemonade wise, historic. No one's ever done what this guy's done. If you guys don't know our limits to lemonade report, it looks a lot better on the Flock site. Obviously because we made it look pretty for the draft guide. I need to update it. This is what it currently looks like, but we'll update it here very soon. But limits to lemonade is essentially a metric that shows how good a running back is at creating something out of nothing, right? We essentially blend yards after contact per attempt, missed tackles forced per attempt on a scale, and it shows us who's the best at creating contact on their own. So I want you guys to think, this is only ranking the class against itself. But last year, Ashton Jeanty, like, historic number, was 0.40 missed tackles forced per attempt. Ashton Jeanty was like, oh my God, that's unheard of. Terrion Stewart, a 0.48, a 0.92 limits to lemonade metric. This might go down as like the best number ever. So I drafted him last there just purely out of interest. Purely out of interest because, I don't know, I mean, why not? It's at the 608. It's my last pick. I don't know. We've never had a perfect limits to lemonade score, but this is ranked against the class and what I'm planning on doing every year going forward. And I might actually backdate it, but obviously, like, every year moving forward, you know, the class is going to be compared as we add more players into it. I'm thinking about adding the 25 class from last year. Limits to lemonade is something that we've kind of like, it's been in production and it's changed over the years. So, but I might try and backdate it by like 4 or 5 years if I can in the future. But I've got a couple things that I'm working on for the 2027 class where, you know, maybe we can have some fun with it. But 0.48 is like insane, genuinely unheard of. By the way, guys, if you have fun watching the draft with me, I'd love for y'all to come join me on FastDraft. Like I said earlier, if you've never played on FastDraft before, you can download the app. It's very simple. Download the FastDraft app. Use the promo code LAND. I will match your deposit up to $50. Then you'll get, I think it's 10 free rabbits, 5 free origins, and then obviously you'll get our rookie report for free when you sign up. I'm about to jump into a rabbit right now. If anybody wants to join me, the rabbit is like not just rookies; it's the entire season. So if anybody wants to jump into a rabbit, let me know. We can jump into one together. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. If you want to try it out, if you're in the state of Michigan, this is like the only place where you can actually play DFS, or not DFS, Bestball. Yeah, they just recently got Michigan up. Let me see. Where's their map? Okay, so they got Michigan recently. Indiana is pending at the moment. Oh, did we get New York? I didn't know that we had New York. Okay, we have New York now. I didn't know that happened. We have New York. Indiana is pending. Michigan is in. California is in. All the big states are pretty much ready to go. Also, Canada, everywhere outside of Ontario. All right, let's go ahead and do the giveaway for today, guys. Let's go ahead and do the giveaway, and then I'm going to jump into some team playbooks. I've got 2 on the docket right now that I need to get through. But thanks for hanging out and doing that draft. That was fun. Okay. Currently 23 entries. This is your last chance to enter. All you have to do to enter was simply like the stream and type free agency. That was the code word. Like the stream and type free agency. I'll give you guys 1 second here and I'll answer some of your questions in the chat. Mike says, I get panicky in these drafts. It's so fast. Yeah, FastDraft is, I mean, it's fast. Killer says, if we're going off the mock you used in the last stream, I would go Brazil to the Titans. Let's see. Killer says, I think you got to shoot your shot with a running back. That was during FastDraft. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and do this giveaway. One of you guys is going to get a free team playbook. And we are spinning the wheel. 24 entries. Got a great chance tonight, actually. Good luck to everybody. And our winner is... What's the name there? Dub G? Dub G. Long-time supporter, long-time watcher. Are you in the chat, Dub G? Let me know if you're here with me. Either way, if you're watching this later, my friend, just DM me on Discord. I'll send you... DM me on Discord. Send me a screenshot of your YouTube account and tell me your Flock Fantasy username. And I will hook you up. All right, let's jump into some playbooks for the day. We've got Nate and we've got R Blaze, and we're going to get through both of them. I definitely have room for more if anybody is interested in getting into the queue. Obviously, no pressure whatsoever. But if you do want to get a team review tonight, let me put a link in the chat for you. You can either become an annual Mother Flocker member, which is the best bang for your buck by far, or you can buy one a la carte, completely up to you. If you do become an annual Mother Flocker member, keep in mind, best bang for your buck. You get the playbook, you get the war room, you get the trade hotline, you get the rookie report, you get the fast draft credit, the Dynasty trade dial, you get all of that, as well as this month in particular, we're launching an initiative called 40 in a Week February, where collectively with A21, we are fighting human trafficking. 10% of every membership goes towards the A21 organization. Okay, let's jump into Nate. What's up, Nate? Nate says it's a 1 quarterback, 10 team start 9, by the way. 1 quarterback, 10 team start 9. That is our middle ground. So you can flex three players, probably. But Nate says, did 2 trades in offseason so far. Got Bijan and Stafford for JT, Ricky Pearsall, Woody, and May. Okay, it's a 1 quarterback league. Okay. You got Alvin Kamara for 2/3. Want to upgrade RB4. Should I package Warren and Chuba Stevenson or just pivot from someone like Pitts? Okay. Confident with starters. How much depth really needed? Okay. So a start 9. Your team name is NS Giants. And let's have a look. You actually have no picks in 2026. At all. So we don't really need to talk about like a rookie draft plan because you don't have any rookie picks. Honestly, it's a really good roster. You're starting Jackson Dart. Again, in a start 9. You're starting Jackson Dart. You're starting Bijan and Amarion Hampton. You're starting Amon-Ra, Neighbors, Loveland. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you've got 2 flex spots. No, wait. No, Zach, you have 3 flex spots. Right? Math is hard. And your 3 flex spots are going to be between Egbuka, Adams, Judkins, maybe Kyle Pitts you could consider at times, or Jalen Warren, or a Stevenson, a Hubbard. I mean, pretty damn good roster there, if I say so myself. I like this team a lot. What do you guys think? Do you like it as much as me, or am I too high on it? I don't know. I like it. Would I give this a no picks this year? But I'm not that bothered by that when I look at your entire team. Like, this is a good team. And my keyboard just died. Overall, I would give this a solid, I don't know, this is at least an A. And maybe an A minus. Yeah, I think you're A minus range, man. You're definitely a contender. There's no doubt about that. And I'm going to put you at an A minus. Why can't I give him an A flat? I don't know. Maybe it's just like the depth at running back, the depth at receiver. There is a pretty stark drop off after Adams and after, Warren, really. I'm not even sure if, like, Warren I love. I feel like A minus is fair, and this is definitely a contending roster. Sorry, guys. I just have to charge my keyboard. That's an insane top 4, though, with Bijan, Hampton, Amon-Ra, and Neighbors. What's up, Zach? Fast draft code is LAND, my friend. LAND. LAND. That'll get your deposit matched up to $50. You get the rookie report for free. Appreciate you, man. Let's get into some drafts. And if you guys do sign up to Fast Draft, DM me on Discord. I'd love to add you to a group chat where we draft together. Man, there really is no weaknesses outside of just like general depth. It's a solid squad. I'm not surprised that you're ranked number 1. Now, typically what I would do here is I would, jump to the war room and we talk about a rookie, a plan for your rookie draft. But you don't have any picks in 2026. So we're going to go straight to the chalkboard. And one of the questions that you asked is, do I upgrade RB4, Jaylen Warren plus something? Which is kind of where I was thinking we would take this as well. Jaylen Warren, you could maybe use Kyle Pitts in a trade. I don't think you have much leverage. I mean, outside of that, yeah, like maybe that 27 second as well. I think your 3 leverage pieces here to make a move would be Warren, Pitts in a second. And by the way, is Nate in the chat with me? Let me know if Nate's here. Obviously no pressure, but. So if we want to improve that RB4 spot, then I almost feel like you have to go hard a little bit here, like Warren, Pitts in a second. You almost have to combine all of them. And that might give you a little bit more juice. Who needs a tight end? Is there anybody in your league that's tight end needy? How about this guy who has Mark Andrews? Well, bad news. Kyle Mononga is his best running back. Okay. This guy has Travis Kelce, but there's no way you're getting an Achane. I mean, you could just try to go all in and send your 27 first plus your 27 second and get a Devon Achane type. I mean, that is an option, certainly. Right? That guy probably isn't going to sell Achane to you, though. This guy's got Kittle, so he's probably fine. Harold Fannin, Bowers, Gadsden, McBride. Oh my gosh, does anybody need a tight end? Warren and Kraft. Okay, Jake Ferguson. Maybe Jake Ferguson. But again, you're in a spot where... Is this guy going to give you Jonathan Taylor and have no running back at all? I don't know. Yeah, there's not a lot of leverage here in this league, honestly. Let's go back to that Achane owner. I almost wonder if you go for like a Burden here and then you try and flip a receiver for a running back. So, for example, could you get Burden for either Pitts in a second or Warren in a second? Could either of those get you Burden? In my league, I'll be honest with you, the answer is no. But that doesn't mean in your league the answer would be no. Maybe that's the route you have to take here. James Cook. This guy is Fannin, so Pitts isn't really a leverage piece for you. I don't think a Warren plus a 27 second is netting you a Breece Hall. But I'll throw it out there just in case. I mean, could you do a Egbuka Devonta swap in that? Right? Like, to get this done, could you add Devonta Smith to it and send back Emeka Egbuka? Maybe something like that is possible if you want to upgrade. The unfortunate part is Warren is just not a name that people are all that thrilled about adding to their team. So you got to be realistic with the leverage that you have. You could do something simple where you bet on like a Javonte Williams. So you get Javonte Williams in a third and you send like let's say Warren in a second. Jalen Warren in a second for Javonte Williams in a third, right? You're kind of betting on these guys that are about to get a contract. Javonte Williams, could you do it for a Ken Walker? Could you do that for a Travis Etienne? So if you want to get out on Warren, there's maybe some ways you could do it. Unfortunately, Kyle Pitts is not going to give you much leverage in this league, like we said. Honestly, though, dude, you don't really have any weakness. Chase Brown would be awesome. He would fit you perfectly. Does that guy need a tight end? No, he's got freaking Trey McBride. Yeah. I just don't think you're getting Chase Brown, though. I don't know how you get Chase Brown. Yeah. Look, if you can send Warren and Pitts for Chase Brown, then that's ideal, but the guy doesn't need tight end. But Nate, if anything, from this review, just take hope in knowing that your team is incredible. I see no reason why you shouldn't be in the playoffs. One of the favorites, obviously assuming health. And the good news is you have your 27 first. So if you decide, mid-season that you want to go even further in, and, let's say you wanted to trade your 27 first and attach it with a Judkins or attach it with, one of these backup running backs, I would keep that first for in-season because you can only upgrade a roster so much, right? And in-season, you want that flexibility with that first-round pick. So I like the team, man. Really well done. You're going to get your playbook within the next 3 to 4 business days. But I appreciate you. Thanks for being an annual member. Thanks for showing some love. We actually just had someone sign up to become an annual member right now. So let's update that tracker. That brings us to, I think, 13 on the week. 13 on the week. Shout out to, what was the name there? We had Q's. If Q's is in the chat, shout out to you for becoming a member, man. Okay. We've got one more review on the day for our Blaze here. Like I said, completely open queue if you guys want to jump in tonight. No pressure at all. Let's look at our Blaze's team here. It's a Superflex 10-team start 10. Superflex 10-team start 10. And that is our middle ground for Superflex leagues. You can start up to 5 receivers, I believe. Our Blaze, let's have a look. He says, went all in and traded most of my picks for another championship and missed. I guess you're saying like you went for like a third championship or something? As in, are you saying that I assume you're saying that you won it twice already then. And Coach Blaze is in the chat. What's up, Coach Blaze? Just Blaze. Traded Bijan for Hampton and 2 27 firsts, and Allen for Herb Marvin a first. Where should I go from here? Looking to tear down CD, Nico, Kyron, Trey. Thank you for all the content and help. Hey, man. Thank you. Thank you for showing love to the channel. Okay, so you're currently ranked 3rd. Now, some of those trades were crazy. Yeah, Mike, can you DM me on Discord so I can remember after this stream? I'll add you, my friend. Went all in, traded most of my picks. Okay, so you traded Bijan for Hampton and 2 27 firsts. Hampton and 2 27 firsts. And then you traded Josh Allen for Herbert, Marvin, and a 27 first. So how do you only have 3 first-round picks in 2027 if you traded for 3? Did you not have your own first already? Coach? Is that how that happened? Just curious to know. Okay. Starting lineup is Jalen Hurts, Herbert, or Prescott. It's a good quarterback room. You've got Hampton and Williams. You've got some depth at running back there. Lamb and Nico McBride. And you can start 10. And you currently would be flexing names like Marvin, Adams, Pittman, maybe Debo, Swifty. It's a good team. I mean, You certainly have more flexibility after you made those trades, but I don't feel like I don't know. I'd love to hear what the chat thinks about this. I don't think I'm blowing this up. I think you make the playoffs. It's a tight end premium. You have Trey McBride. You've got a great quarterback room. I don't know. I don't think I'm blowing this up. You've got a first round pick from AP. Who's AP? Where's he at? So AP's about to get Jordan Love or Jeremiah Love, but there's no guarantee AP makes the playoffs. You've got another first from Kami, and that first is not going to be that valuable. I don't know, man. If I'm in your position, I would probably look to trade that 27 first from Kami and maybe look to get one more running back and compete. I really don't think that this team needs to blow it up. I mean, if you want, Blaze, I can take you in the direction where you're tearing down from CD and you're tearing down from Hurts and Herbert and, you know, and from McBride, but I don't think you actually need to. I don't know, man. What direction would you prefer I take this before I take it in a direction myself? Because I think you can compete with this roster for sure. No doubt in my mind that you can compete with this roster. Starting lineup again would be Hurts, Herbert, Omarion, Kyron, CD, Nico, McBride, Marvin, Pittman, Adams. So maybe Swift on the bench. Don't count out Marv yet. Coach says I'm open. I was looking to go either way. Okay. Well, why don't we play it like this? Let's play it as a in or out. All right, I'll give you kind of the way I would play this depending on how that pans out in the season. I'll explain in a second. We'll go in or out. We'll keep your 27 first to make sure we have that flexibility. But overall team grade, I'd probably give you a solid B+. I give you a solid B+. I like the team. Obviously, Jalen Hurts didn't have as much hype this year as previous years, but yeah, if Marvin can develop, then there's no way that this team is ruled out of winning a championship in my mind. Your untouchables would be CD, McBride. If you wanted to trade CD, we can look at that. If you're going to hold, I would hold on to Caleb Johnson and probably Pat Freiermuth. You can easily drop names like Devin Singletary and Colby Parkinson. On the waiver wire, Malik Willis is available. And Devon Vele. And I don't think either of those players should be available, by the way. So if you can pick up Malik Willis, what percentage of your fab is available? I mean, I would spend a high percentage of my fab to make sure I get Malik Willis on this team, because then that makes Dak Prescott movable, or Herbert, or, you know, you don't need all of those quarterbacks, but it gives you maybe some leverage. Devon Vele, also a name that I would pick up. He had a great end of the year in 2025. You know, he finally kind of started to get on the same page with Tyler Shuck as well. Coach says opens up Monday, then I would absolutely be prioritizing Malik Willis, my friend, in a super flex format. As far as, you know, it's funny, like two teams that really don't have a lot of draft capital to work with. You know, typically I jump into the war room and we would talk, you know, about what we can do in the rookie draft. But for your team, you've got the 408. That's pretty much it. That's not going to do anything in a trade. It's not going to really change much at all for you. Let's jump into the chalkboard though. Okay, so let's give you a out direction, and let's give you a in direction. So if you're in, then 27 first, not yours. We want to use the one from Kami. 27 first from Kami. number one, I mean, can we just use that to add one more running back, right? I mean, I think your dream scenario here is like grabbing a Breece Hall, right? If you can go out there and get a Breece Hall, a Bucky Irving, I'm trying to think of that range of running back that we feel is going to have a good amount of workload this year, and that we feel comfortable trusting. I wouldn't even mind going like a Chase Brown even. Could make a lot of sense. Obviously like Scattaboo. I don't know if I dip all the way down to like a Henry. Scattaboo though. Saquon's a good one too. If you can just get one more of these pieces, like Breece Hall would be perfect. And if you can use Justin Fields as a pawn to make that happen, if you can use Debo or David Montgomery, let's say they're like, no, I'm not going to do that, but okay, if you give me David Montgomery, I'll do it. That would be awesome. And again, these are top 10 picks. It's only a 10-team league, so they're all going to be top 10 picks. None of them are going to be that late in a good class. So people will probably be intrigued. But Breece Hall is like perfect. If you add Breece Hall to this team, you got a starting lineup of Hurts, Herbert, Hampton, Kyron, CD, Nico, McBride, Breece Hall, Devontae Adams, and then you only need to trust one of the following names: Pittman, Marvin, Swift. I love that for you. Oh, and by the way, Dak Prescott's on your bench, right? That's an incredible team. If you get one of those deals done, I love it. That would put me all in. And I would argue that you really need to hit running back, not receiver, with that first round pick. Don't look for a receiver. You've already got enough depth there. I think that's really like your main move. And by the way, you can throw, I would just say this, throw into any of these trades, as a throw-in if need be. If you're out, and again, you would only know if you're out by midseason. Let's say midseason, you're like, you know what? I'm 3-6. Okay, then Jalen Hurts you can look to tear down from. CeeDee Lamb you can look to tear down from. Maybe even Trey McBride if he's having another incredible year. Can you net 2 future first-round picks for him? Nico Collins we can try and tear down from. So right now it's pointless for me to tell you, coach, what these guys are worth, because you would be making these moves in season, and their value is obviously going to change for a lot of them, not all of them, depending on how they're playing, right? So for example, like right now, if you can get 2 future firsts for Nico Collins, that makes a lot of sense. For McBride, it probably needs to be 2 early to mid future firsts. Unless you're in a tight end premium. You're in a 10-team tight end premium, so maybe you're actually looking for 3 future firsts for Trey McBride. Same thing for these other names here. That's really like right now probably the range, but you're not making these moves today, are you? So, but if I were you, my number one goal would be to acquire one of these running backs. Saquon's very affordable right now. Breece Hall could make sense. Not opposed to Ken Walker, but not obsessed with him being the one. And then I think you got a good enough roster to go out there and compete, man. I really do. But Blaze, I want to take a second and give you a chance to ask me any questions. I want to make sure anybody who ever gets a team playbook, if you ever decide to support the show, if you ever say, you know what, I like what Zach's doing, I want to support him, I want to get some, opinions, I want to get some review, some customized trade ideas and his thought on my team, I always want to make sure you guys are completely satisfied and you get value out of it. So let me know. Let me know if you have any questions. Obviously, a playbook will be available within the next 3 to 4 business days. But this is your time to ask me anything you think I didn't cover well enough. What's up, Mr. Tech? He says, do I sell McBride for Breece and Kraft? Love Breece and Kraft, but I think you could probably net a little more. Coach says, appreciate the info, brother. I'll see if I can sell for Brees. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys big time. Thanks for showing love to the stream. We got a little unique today, talked about free agency, but I had a lot of fun. DM me if you guys have any questions about FastDraft or about the A21 campaign or becoming an annual Mother Flocker member, or joining the FastDraft group chat. You know, by the way, to all of our members, if you are an annual Mother Flocker member, you also have the ability to get $10 on FastDraft completely free. Go to our Discord. There's a FastDraft credit tab, and there's a Google form that you can fill out to get $10 FastDraft credit for free. So there's a hypothetical scenario where you sign up with the promo code LAND, and you could get $50 deposit matched, as well as $10 free FastDraft credit from your boy. Yeah, let's try for a rabbit. Does anybody want to join a rabbit? All right, we got 3 spots. Yeah. You know what? Let me see if we can fill one. Let me see if we can fill one. We got a rabbit. If you guys haven't played in the rabbit yet, the rabbit is FastDraft's 15-round tournament. $50,000 prize pool, 20-second clock, 10-team leagues, PPR scoring, and you know, it's the full 15-round quarterback. I think it's a start 8, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's a start 8. But let's join, Mike. If you're in, I'm in. Let's do a little Q&A here while we wait and try and get this thing filled up. Yeah. Let me know who I'm out there chatting with today. Where are we at? All right, 2 spots remaining now. Just 2 spots in a rabbit. I've gotten into like 3 or 4 rabbits so far. Let me show y'all a recent draft I had here. No worries, Mr. Tech. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming out and showing some love. Way too early. Where are we? Where are we? Huh. It's not showing my rabbits. One spot left, by the way. Now just 1 single spot. One spot remaining, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get it? Wyatt says Justin Jefferson or Bryce Young, 103, 203, 27 first, rebuilding squad. Oof. That's a good question. I don't love the 203. I don't love Bryce Young. So to only get the 103 and a 27 first, especially if you're getting it from a contender, I'm not obsessed with that deal. I don't know. I'm not obsessed with it. What do you guys think? I feel like I would remove Bryce from it. I would remove the 203 and I'd ask for another first. Or a player that I like, you know, that I think is, you know, has untapped potential or something. Yeah, I don't think that's enough for me. Mike says, who do you like better, Walker or Hall, both signing with current teams? If they both sign with the same team? Probably Brees. Probably Brees. Yeah. Although, I could easily see a world in which, you know, Hall ends up being kind of buried in that offense. Certainly not an offense that you want to be a part of. So I could see both worlds existing for sure. I could see both worlds existing. Wyatt says it's the team with the 103. 27 first is probably early. I'm just hesitant to believe that because if they're willingly trading their first, you know, I'm skeptical. You know what I mean, Wyatt? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a little skeptical there. Mike, let me add you to that group chat. Let's see. Okay, we are in a draft. Let me pull up this draft. Okay. This is fun. I haven't been able to use this draft TV yet. Today's the first day. All right, 10-teamer. And your boy's at the 5 spot. Let me look at the lineup one more time so I know. Okay, so lineup, I believe, is a start 8. PPR, no tight end premium. Who we got here in the draft with us? We got Stained in the draft, who was in the last Origins draft. We got Zach Overton, which I think Zach was in the chat. Zach, is this your first draft on FastDraft? Who else is in this with us? We've got Mike, obviously, and Mad Dog. As Bijan Robinson goes 101, Jahmyr Gibbs 102. What do we think? I thought JSN would be the consensus 101, but maybe because running backs are so hard to find. Again, this is not Dynasty. This is just for the 2026 season. As Jamar Chase comes off the board, then Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's crazy that Jason was like a 3rd-round pick last year as well. That's insane to go back and like think about. All right, I'm on the clock. Yeah, it's a weird place to be this year at the 6th spot. I mean, CD makes sense. Hard not to just go Christian McCaffrey. Say, you know what? 1-year tournament. Why not? I've probably got Christian McCaffrey on the wrong year, especially after the amount of volume he took in 2025, but it feels wrong to draft James Cook over CMC, the guy who scored the most points in 2025. I know, last year's not going to replicate this year, but it feels wrong to me to not draft CMC there. I mean, watch, this will be the year where he's absolutely dead inside. The conspiracy about their electrical grid is insane, by the way, if anybody's been keeping up with that. All right, James Cook at the 107. This time last year, everybody was screaming regression, and now he's a 1st-round pick. Amon-Ra at the 108. CD falls to the 109. Then we've got an Achan Taylor start at the edge there, which is ridiculous. Trey McBride here at the 202. There's no tight end premium in this, by the way. Genty off the board there at the 203. Hampton. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I'm just going to bet that Justin Jefferson figures it out. I'll make the bet. I'll be the guy. I'll be the guy that bets that Jefferson's going to figure it out. I thought about Drake London. Obviously, it was fun to have him in the Flock League while I had him when he was healthy. But, yeah. I really think the Vikings need to figure out quarterback. Like, losing Sam Darnold was absolutely killer. But I'm hoping there's some free agent, even like a Joe Flacco to Minnesota would be awesome. Okay. Malik Neighbors falls to the 207. I would love to draft more Malik Neighbors if I knew he was healthy and ready to go. I'm not suggesting he won't be, but... yeah. When we get Brock Bowers at the 210, Saquon at the 209, what a fall from grace he had from one year to the next. Chase Brown, Derrick Henry, George Pickens. I have no stock of this quarterback yet. I'm going to be the first guy to draft a quarterback here. It is Josh Allen. Look, it's a 10-team league or a 10-team tournament. Those onesies are going to matter more in a league like this than compared to if we were in some, you know, start 9, 14-team league. It's a 10-teamer, smaller league. Those elite guys are going to, I think, be the difference between you winning and losing a championship here, or whatever the prize pot ends up being. How many drafts have you been in, Mike? I love seeing Mike in these drafts with me. Lamar Jackson, Breece Hall off the board at the 309, Nico Collins. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's a third round reversal in the Rabbit as well, which is I thought was pretty interesting. T-Mac goes off the board at the 401. Then Washi Weiss, who let's hope we keep him out of a car. If you're the Kansas City Chiefs at this point, just hire someone as a chaperone for Rashee Rice. Hire a driver for Rashee Rice. Ask him to do nothing outside of working out and playing football. That's all you got to ask from him. Just work out, play football. We'll figure out the rest for you. All right. Jacobs comes off the board as well as A.J. Brown. And I am on the clock here. Man, I'm not obsessed with anyone available right now, to be honest. Oh my gosh, the clock is so fast. I'm just going to grab Kyren Williams. There's no one on the board that I'm obsessed with. But I did feel like running back was going to fall off here soon. Yeah, we just took Kyren there. Ladd goes in the 4th. Where's Mike's team? Mike is on the clock right now, actually. Mike started with Amon-Ra, Genty, and Pickens. 5 so far, he says. We get Drake May at the 408. Garrett Wilson at the 409. Travion. Team 10 is going hard after them running backs. Maybe that's why there's not many running backs available, because Team 10 is hoarding them. All right, what am I doing next? We've got 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, and 1 wide receiver. Oh, I was actually genuinely thinking about going Loveland there. Wow. I'm just going to draft Javonte Williams. I know that seems silly, but there's so many receivers still on the board that I love. I feel like I can probably skip receiver for even another round and draft like 4 in a row and be happy. So we get Loveland off the board. I definitely was going to draft him at the 505. Scatterboo at the 503. No Dayball. I hope they use Scatterboo the way they did last year. Why wouldn't they? He was so good. Adams at the 507. Seems like he could be a steal. Maybe a no-brainer that we're all kind of overthinking there. Harvey at the 509. I don't know how I feel about Harvey at the 509. I just think they're going to bring someone else in. I don't think it's going to be Harvey's backfield on his own. Egbuka goes off the board at the 510 there. I like Egbuka. Was definitely thinking about him. I was definitely thinking about you, bud. Ooh. Just lining up my next pick here. Okay, Jameson, another guy I was looking to draft. It always sucks when everyone starts drafting the position you want to take next. But I will say, I think there's a reason there's only been one running back drafted after Javonte. There we go, DeAndre Swift off the board. Let's get more running backs. Team 5, you have 5 wide receivers. It's time to draft a running back, bud. Okay, Jaden Daniels in the 6th round is actually... That's hot. That's incredibly hot. So we didn't get Colson Loveland, but let's grab Luther. Let's grab Luther Burden here. So Odunze goes at the 601. I took Burden at the 606. Loveland at the 504. Surely this is going to work out well. Last time I can remember 3 offensive players being drafted that high was the Texans after C.J. Stroud's rookie year. There's no way that this can go wrong, right, guys? Absolutely no way this can go wrong. Burrow off the board, Jordan Tyson. So those 3 receivers I was definitely eyeing up as well. Caleb off the board. I think I'm going to grab a tight end here. Just which tight end? That's the question. I'll grab Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin in the 7th. I mean, I think we're cooking here. A CMC Kyron Javonte 3 is hot. If Jefferson can get back to relevancy. I mean, who knows? Could be all we need. Could be all we need. And of course, if Javonte doesn't sign somewhere interesting, then we're cooked. Yeah, but I don't understand going really late on tight end. Like, I feel like you have to stay within a range within the competition like this. Unless you're going to like triple stack tight end or something and bet on spike weeks. Yeah. Chuba Hubbard in the 8th. Wow. I don't know if that's good or bad. I have no idea, actually. It's funny that DK Metcalf is on the board in the 8th round, and I don't think any of us care. I unfortunately don't think any of us really care. There's no running backs at all. Marvin's not a bad pick there at all. Whoever has Jaden Daniels at the 5 spot, they've got to draft Terry here. Oh my gosh, they went with their 7th receiver? All right. Well, I'll draft Terry McLaurin in the 8th round then. Oh my gosh, 7th receiver for Team 5. What is Team 5 doing here? No tight end, no running backs through 8 rounds. Tucker Kraft's a great pick, Mike. Honestly, I think he's one of the more underrated players on this app. Some of the ADP is crazy. I think he's one of those guys. He just gets buried a little bit. It's a great pick, though, from you. I like the squad you got rocking up here, Mike. We've got Drake May and Caleb. A little Scat, Ginty, Judkins, all year 2 running backs there. Okay. Okay, we're going to grab Blake Corum here. Not obsessed with the pick, honestly. I just felt like receiver is the one that I could really punt. There's a couple names that I like there, but I don't know. You can basically get Travis Hunter in the last round. Laporta is an interesting one, too. I don't know what to think about Laporta, to be honest. Jameson Williams finally broke out last year, but it was after Laporta goes down with that significant injury he had. Laporta, Price off the board, Pittman, Gadsden, and Tootin, which Tootin will be a really fun player to draft in a tournament like this before free agency because there's a lot of unknowns there. Is anybody... Okay, Team 5 still has no running backs, by the way, in case anybody cared. Team 5 has Puka, London, Olave, Higgins, and Smith, which is awesome. Until you realize what exactly is the plan at running back. He goes Kyle Monangai. That was his plan, I guess. All right, we'll grab Brock Purdy here. Want to get another quarterback in. And I have a plan. This could work out. This could work out perfectly. Oh my gosh. This could work out perfectly. As Kincaid comes off the board at the 10:07. We get Addison and Myers. Is Addison dealing with a suspension? Does anybody know? I feel like I remember hearing that, but I don't know if it's true or just like a fugazi. It's funny. Woody Marks is on the board and none of us care. Okay. Perfect. If you weren't on the stream yesterday, then you probably didn't hear, but Sammy and I were talking about how all reports state that George Kittle might be ready by week 1. Apparently, the way that he tore his Achilles was perfect in the sense it's not ideal, but it was like the best way you could tear your Achilles. It was a very clean tear. And all indications are that he'll be ready week 1. So I get the Brock Purdy, George Kittle stack there in the 10th and 11th round. Kind of obsessed with this team, not going to lie, gang. Kittle and Fannin in a small league where the onesies matter. Purdy and Allen. We still have CMC, Kyron, Javonte. Receivers where we need to really hit in these last rounds, but Jefferson, Burden, Terry, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I got something up my sleeve for y'all. Trying to think like how crazy do I want to get here? Ooh, there's some really good values down here. I'm telling y'all, the ADP is so exploitable here. So exploitable. Benson off the board in the 11th. Coleman, Algier, and Mr. Brother Bo Nix. So Team 5 finally gets 2 running backs, and their 2 running backs are Monangai and Woody Marks. Which sounds like a nightmare. I'm not going to lie to you. That sounds like absolute nightmare fuel. Okay, Omar Cooper. Welcome to the squad in the 12th round. I don't know, guys. I don't think anybody's building a team like we are right now. I don't think anybody's doing it like we are. Right now, we're just different gravy. So a bunch of receivers coming off the board now. Unfortunately, Surratt went. I was hoping to get him in the next round. Who took Surratt? Was that Mike? Mike took Surratt off my hands. Should have known. Shakir and Downs. Thought about linking up Shakir with Josh Allen, but I'm not too bothered by it. Especially because it's cumulative scoring. Montgomery at receiver. Okay, perfect. We're going to grab Jawan Jennings. Again, another Niner. In rounds 10 to 13, we get 3 Niners. Damn, son. Jake Ferguson off the board. Not a bad pick there. You know, I'm not going to say what I was about to say because I don't want someone to draft the player. There's some really fun values down the board here. I mean, Alvin Kamara is going to go basically undrafted in every fast draft. I got a couple things up my sleeve here. Kaysen Schlesinger wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. In case anyone cares. We got Keon Coleman available, y'all. Don't be afraid to get Keon Coleman here. Godwin, JCM, Kamara, Mixon are all names I'm trying to get here with my last pick. I like the Travis Hunter bet there in the 13th. I mean, why the hell not? Number 2 overall pick. Why not take a shot on him? All right, we'll grab Chris Godwin in the 14th. I got to be honest, guys. I'm not sure anyone can contend with this squad here. I just don't know if it's possible. You might as well give me the 50K now. You might as well hand it over. Xavier Worthy off the board. What's Mike going to do here? He goes Mr. Matthew Golden. Jordan Love off the board. It's fast. Are they doing like NFL awards right now? Like, why are there so many people, so many notifications about that? Did they announce MVP? All right, Rashad White off the board. JCM, those are 2 great picks. Pat Bryant, I do like Pat Bryant. Y'all are either going to love or hate this last one. You ready for this? Last pick. I doubt anybody's drafting him in this tournament. How about it? How about Joe Mixon, who's still technically on contract for the Texans? Why not Joe Mixon? Why not? Jordan says Tyron Montgomery, Eli Hydronic. Who is? I'm convinced that those are the same people. Anyway, guys, appreciate y'all hanging out today, and I had a lot of fun. Cool to get into some fast drafts. I want to do those more often. 2,600 yards and 36 touchdowns, Jordan says. Sheesh. All right, guys, that's it for today. Appreciate y'all hanging out, and I'll see y'all in the streams next week. Love.